The universe draws two borders of despair for all civilizations. Upward, light is too fast. Going down, you cannot touch absolute zero. The speed of light locks space, letting you only see history, while absolute zero locks down time. The ultimate stillness it represents can theoretically even freeze the Big Bang in an instant. We have always thought that in this universe, heat is an almost limitless privilege. The road upward seems to lead to the realm of gods, with no end. However, when you turn around and try to go downward, no matter how advanced your civilization, and no matter how much galactic energy you waste to refrigerate, when the thermometer scale reaches minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, the universe suddenly flashes a red light at you. Behind this red light is an invisible, untouchable, but absolutely insurmountable iron wall. Why? Why does the universe allow heat to soar infinitely, but does not allow cold to be even a tiny bit colder? In that remaining 0.00001 degree, what on earth is hidden that makes the universe itself feel terrified? Is it the system's underlying code? Or is it a seal we are not supposed to touch? Hello Earthlings, I am Laoma. To know the terror of absolute zero, we must first go back to that ignorant era. That was an era when humans did not even understand what temperature was. If you travel back to the 17th century, asked, why does water freeze? He would tell you very confidently, isn't that simple? Because cold atoms have crawled into the water. That is right. For thousands of years, humans firmly believed that cold was a tangible substance. They named this stuff frigorific particles. They believed that just as salt makes soup salty, dust floats. These particles were triangles, or pyramid-shaped, and very sharp. When they pierce your skin, you feel a sharp pain. That is cold. When they crawl into the water, the prickles on their bodies hook the water molecules together, and even push the water apart, which is why ice has a larger volume than water. Does it sound a lot like Pulp Fiction? But at that time, this was absolute mainstream science. Even the famous Boyle once attempted to weigh cold atoms. If this theory were correct, then absolute zero would not exist. Because as long as you stuffed enough cold atoms into a box, it could get infinitely cold. There would be no limit. Minus 1,000 degrees, minus 10,000 degrees. It would dare to get colder if you tried. Reality soon gave humanity a resounding slap in the face. The person who dealt this blow was Benjamin Thompson, an engineer who bored cannons. Drilling cannon barrels, he found that as long as the drill was turning, the barrel would heat up indefinitely. That heat could boil water countless times. He thought, if no coal is added, yet heat is generated continuously, then how could heat be a caloric substance? Matter would eventually run out, right? Therefore, a subversive, spine-chilling truth surfaced. In this universe, there is no such thing as caloric, nor is there any frigoric. In fact, there is no such thing as cold at all. So-called hot and cold are, in essence, just one thing. Motion. Every atom and molecule in your body is vibrating frantically like it has a manic disorder. Vibrate fast, high energy, and you feel hot. Vibrate slow, low energy, and you feel cold. Humanity touched the edge of that wall at first. Since cold is just vibrating slowly, the logic is very simple. So simple that even a school student could deduce it. Stop it. Make atoms. Fixed in place. Motionless. Wouldn't that be the coldest endpoint in the universe? Thus, the first deft deduction regarding absolute zero in history was born. Scientists then realized with horror that, once that temperature is reached, matter is no longer matter. It is an end of existence. Without motion, there is no time. Without time, it is eternal death. But where exactly is this endpoint? Is it minus 100 degrees? Or minus 1000 degrees? Nobody knows. Until a seemingly boring balloon experiment unlocked the secret of the universe. In 1787, French physicist Charles, while playing with balloons, found an extremely scary pattern. He found that if you keep the air pressure constant and cool gas, for every 1 Celsius the temperature drops, the volume of the gas will immediately shrink by a little bit. How much less? About 1/273.15 of its volume at 0 degrees Celsius. Whether it is hydrogen, oxygen, or nitrogen. All the experimental data points lined up in a perfect straight line on the graph. At this moment, the keen intuition of mathematicians kicked in. They extended this straight line toward the lower temperatures, wanting to see where the endpoint was. As a result, the reading at the intersection was minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. What does this intersection mean? Mathematically, it means the volume of the gas becomes zero. It vanishes. Every scientist's mind was blown at this moment. Zero volume. This means that this massive gas disappears directly from this universe. This is the real world collapsing, just like in a game, and the map is suddenly deleted. This is absolutely impossible in classical physics. Conservation of matter is an iron rule. How could it just vanish from cooling down? Therefore, scientists at the time firmly believed that minus 273.15 degrees is definitely not a normal temperature. It is a cosmic bug, an abyss, a void. They believed that before reaching this temperature, the gas would certainly liquefy and solidify, thereby escaping this fate of vanishing. Here lies a cliff. One more step forward and it is nothingness. Then, the man named Kelvin later stood up. He said, since this is the endpoint of material motion, let's stop pretending it doesn't exist. We defined it as zero. Kelvin was born. Minus 273.15 degrees Celsius became 0 K. Because you cannot have less than nothing. Now we know this number. But you might still think, isn't it just a bit cold? I can still survive minus 90 in Antarctica wearing a down jacket. Absolute zero just means wearing more clothes, right? Too naive. The horror of absolute zero and the cold you understand are concepts from different dimensions. Ordinary cold means your cellular metabolism slows down, and you feel shivering. Absolute zero, however, is the suspension of time. Let's do a cruel thought experiment. Hypothetically, if a divine power instantly threw you there, a living human being, into an environment at absolute zero, what would happen? Would you feel cold? No. Because cold is a neural signal. Your skin senses the low temperature, sends the signal to your brain through the nerves, and your brain tells you it is cold. This entire process consists entirely of chemical and electron transfers, completely of atomic motion. But at the exact Planck instant you enter absolute zero, bam, the countless atoms inside every single cell will, at that same moment, all slam on brakes. Your brain won't have time to form any thoughts. Your blood won't have time to solidify into ice. Because freezing also requires molecular motion to align, they will be vitrified directly in liquid form. Your heart won't have time to finish its last beat. Everything stops in that exact millisecond. You become the most perfect statue in the universe. And moreover, this statue will never decay. Bacteria are locked down, enzymes are locked down, and even the decay inside atomic nuclei could be affected. Without interference, you will maintain this posture until the end of the universe, until the end of time. In a certain sense, you achieve immortality. But this is the cruelest paradox. You exist forever, yet you will never know you exist. And this is just the appetizer. What truly drives physicists crazy isn't freezing. Rather, it is the magic tricks matter performs when it approaches absolute zero. We have always thought that absolute zero means frozen, and that atoms are just immediately sleeping. That is wrong. When scientists actually pushed the temperature down below minus 270 degrees, approaching the abyss of absolute zero, what they saw was not dead silence, but a riot in the microscopic world. Scientists liquefied helium gas and cooled it to around minus 271 degrees. At that very moment, this cup of liquid helium suddenly boiled briefly, and then instantly calmed down. Right after that, something terrifying happened. If you leave this cup of liquid on the table, it will not stay immediately inside the cup. It will defy gravity and climb up the walls of the cup on its own, as if guided by an invisible hand. This cup of liquid gains awareness, it wants out. It will climb the cup, flow onto the table, and then drip down. This is a superfluid. It has zero friction. None at all. But that is not even the scariest part. Humans finally created that monster known as the fifth state of matter, the Bose-Einstein condensate. Think about it, at room temperature, you are you. I am I, and every atom is an independent individual. But when approaching absolute zero, atoms find it so cold that they give up their selves. Thousands of atoms suddenly lose their identities. You can no longer tell who is atom A and who is atom B. At the exact same moment, they turn into a single quantum wave. Many atoms fuse together to become a giant superatom. In this state, the speed of light, the fastest messenger, will be dragged down by this monster. Scientists once used this state to reduce the speed of light to 17 meters per second. You could beat light speed just by riding a bicycle. Looking at that blurry, ghost light-like mass of matter under the microscope, scientists finally came to a sudden realization: absolute zero is not the death of matter at all. It is the unsealing ceremony of quantum mechanics. Only by removing all that thermal noise will matter reveal its truest and most bizarre things. So, here comes the question again. Since we can already achieve 0.00000000001 K, can we try just a bit harder to pump out that very last bit of temperature? Can we turn approaching into reaching? Can we take a look behind the wall? The answer is absolutely impossible. Not due to bad tech, nor inadequate machines, but because if you actually achieve it, you would murder this universe. Standing here is a massive boss of physics, Heisenberg. In his hand, he holds a baton called the uncertainty principle. This principle is the quantum mechanics constitution, and it rules. You can never simultaneously and precisely know both a particle's position and velocity. To know how fast it runs, you will have no way to pinpoint where it is. Let us see what absolute zero means. Absolute zero means atoms standing still. What does a complete standstill mean? Velocity equals zero. We can determine position equals stationary, which we can also precisely determine when both are known at the same time. The Heisenberg principle becomes invalid. The quantum foundation collapses. Therefore, to protect itself from collapsing, the universe evolved an extremely rogue defense mechanism. When you try to cool an atom down to absolute zero, this atom will suddenly generate a mysterious energy. It has no heat source, and nobody is pushing it. But it will just stand there shivering and vibrating by force. This is zero-point energy. The universe says, slow down to the ultimate limit. But do not stop. If you dare to stop, or physical laws will be buried. This is why it is minus 273.15 degrees. This is not a simple lower limit of temperature. This is the universe firewall. Light speed locks our bodies, making it impossible for us to go too far, while absolute zero locks our time. Everything is frozen at this ultimate boundary, making it impossible to stay long. These two walls trap all intelligent life on their own tiny, isolated islands. But what is more despairing is that it foretells our ultimate destiny. By entropy law, stars will extinguish and black holes will evaporate. When the last bit of heat in the universe is completely dissipated, the entire universe will infinitely approach absolute zero. Scientists call this heat death. But at this moment, the sunlight and warmth you feel are real. We are locked down prisoners, yes. But while temperature is above absolute zero, and as long as life's code is running, we still possess the right to resist nothingness. We may eventually go out, but before that, please burn to your heart's content.